Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Showverse. Today, I have a very special guest with me in the form of director of the upcoming comedy, The Floaters. I have director Rachel Isreal with me here today. Rachel, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Noah.
Oh, not a problem at all. The pleasure is all mine. Now, first off, The Floaters is essentially about a former, unfortunately, punk rock star who gets let go from her band and then is given an opportunity to be a counselor at a Jewish youth camp. And as someone who's had the privilege of watching it not once but twice, because that's the reason I do this because I'm Jewish myself and I grew up going to a lot of these youth groups and camps. And so to watch this, I literally I'm like I'd have to pause every other couple of minutes because I'm just like I did that. I did that too. I did that. It was literally like a throwback to nearly 10, 15 years ago for me. So for that, I thank you very much for encapsulating, Jewish youth in a way that I didn't think was possible.
Oh, that's so cool. Thanks. That's great to hear. Sometimes
Hey,
it's funny. Sometimes if people have been to camp, they have the experience you do, or sometimes you'll get notes like, "Well, it was how," because their camp experience was so personal and like at that young age, that's the only way they could imagine it. Then they'll make notes of, "Well, it was a little bit different at my camp here or there." So,
no, what was actually very interesting, at least from my perspective, is that this is an East Coast based
yeah.
Jewish youth camp. I was West Coast based. So I do have friends that grew up with very similar experiences to the ones in the movie, while mine was very much like it was similar, but still very different.
Yeah.
But I'm actually wondering, you came on board as director based on the scripts from the Cormans as well as Andrea Goff. Now, I'm wondering, what drew you to the project?
Yes. And just our writers were actually so Andrew Gordon, Amelia Brain, and Brent Hoff.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
But what drew me but to answer your question, what drew me to the material? That was it? Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I actually never went to camp. So for me this was in some ways a new world, but I am very proudly Jewish and I loved what the film said about Jewish community and I loved that like that space of camp for kind of getting this, you know, encapsulated world. I think even more broadly, like I loved that it's a crazy Jewish setting, but it felt to me very much like a film that would be universally relatable, which is sort of, some of my favorite films are things that bring me into a new world so that hopefully audiences are just having a great time and having, experiencing a really fun summer movie, whether they're Jewish or not.
And, as someone who grew up in that world, it was just for me very, very deeply personal in ways that I was not expecting because, we have all these movies about, rabbis and, of course, the 1940s and the struggles of being Jewish, but you never
Yep.
see the fun of it. And I think
Yes.
this film does a really good job in really encapsulating Jewish youth. And something that I do need to draw attention to, as well as draw praise, is that you have a very extensive cast, including some big names like Aya Cash and Seth Green.
Mhm.
So this will kind of be a two-parter. The first one, what was it like working with Aya Cash and Seth Green? Aya coming off of The Boys and Seth Green being, well, Seth Green. What was it like working with them?
I mean, they're phenomenal. They are who they are for a reason. They're just terrific actors, incredibly on point. Seth is has such a genius for comedy. They each do, but he would come to set and it was electrifying whenever Seth was there. He's a very also like a very humble guy and his work ethic is tremendous. So I think it really raised the bar for all of us working with those cast. Yeah.
And as great as they are in the movie, which by the way, I still find it hilarious that Aya Cash is Jewish, yet she played just like the most horrible Nazi in The Boys. So
Yeah.
it for me it was a little bit of whiplash. I'm just like, Nazi. Oh, I forgot she's Jewish. Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Playing a rabbi. She plays a rabbi in our movie. So
And by the way, it's always nice to see female rabbis. I actually grew up with a deaf female rabbi, and so it was nice to see that as well. Also, considering I probably have about 15 seconds to say this, I'd like to rep Camp Hess Kramer and Gittling Hilltop Camp. That was my alma mater growing up. But going back to the cast question, you actually have a very extensive cast of very youthful actors.
Mhm.
And, for something like this, where you're juggling plot lines and storylines as well as character interactions, how were you able to, one, work on their chemistry? Because everyone definitely felt like by the end they were all buddy buddies in camp. But on top of that, how are you also able to, at least in the editing part of the process, make everything flow and never feel bloated? I know it's a very tricky one, kind of split into two questions.
Hmm. I mean, in terms of the young cast who are the floaters, the you know, as of the title, this group of kind of self-selected misfits at the camp. We really spent a lot of time and a lot of thought in the casting process, and we just chose terrific actors who brought um, so much depth to each character that you know it was a great script, but these actors did things with characters that might have even been sort of slightly written to expand them to places I didn't see coming. And we left room in the performances for a little bit of improv so that all of that kind of work that they had done flourishes throughout the story. And then the cast really worked on their own chemistry. So, I don't like a lot of, or really any kind of rehearsal prior to shooting. For me, rehearsal period is usually best. It's more of a conversation, and then when we're filming, we want the discoveries to happen there. So I met with each of our actors and got individual conversations going. And then the cast, we actually, so for the young actors, we didn't film most of their scenes until the second half of the production. So they had kind of the first half to just hang out and get to know each other. And yeah, and so I think that chemistry that you're feeling is coming from what they developed as a group.
And I do think that first half of kind of waiting a little bit definitely allowed them to build up that chemistry because you look on screen, you can feel the hate, you can feel the love, you can feel the forming friendships all
Yeah.
evolve naturally in a way. And like I said, when it came to like editing and piecing everything together, was there like a certain method you had when it came to like making sure everything flow properly, or was it just kind of like you had faith in your editors and your post-production team?
I love editing, and I work very closely with our editor. It's funny. There's just it's such a long process, and you go through so many cuts, and you get feedback. Sometimes it's like you get feedback about one character not being uh, viewers not feel like not liking one character, and you go and shave that character and mold them, and then suddenly it's like a whack-a-mole. Then you have to fix something. Suddenly it changes the balance. So it's just like, but I love that process, and it's like it brings me back to when I was a kid playing Barbies. It's like you get to play human emotions in this chemistry lab of the editing suite, and it's hard to, yeah, I guess hard to answer in a tight way what your question is. Was there one like, were there any kind of, there were many aha moments, but there were just so many, and it builds up like this layered process of editing that
No, and
finally it's like, oh, you hit balance. Okay, this is now flowing.
it's basically it's like working on a car. You're tweaking things left and right
Yeah.
until everything kind of runs smoothly. And from
Yes.
the sounds of it, oh, sorry, go.
Oh no, and it's so like I get inside the characters, and I get to be inside the characters in a different way in the edit, because you can feel when something is, like when to cut, because that's when I'd want to see the other, definitely he would want to see her, or it's like you get to kind of be for me, almost like I get to act every character in the edit room. Similar, I guess, to when I write, the writing process of your acting.
Wow, that's really interesting. And, I will admit, the movie itself is about 102 minutes without credits. With credits, it's probably closer to 94, maybe 95. And despite, like I said, the juggling of the plot lines and the very many characters you have, it never once actually felt bloated. So, props to your direction and props to your editing team. But there's also one other, praise I'd like to give other than the cast, and that is to your DP, who I think his name is Danny Vecchione. Is that correct?
I say Danny Vecchione, but maybe you're saying it right, and he's just
I
never. Did me, yeah. Anyway,
And
Danny is phenomenal. Phenomenal guy. So talented, such an artist, and a real mensch, a real great human being. We went on this production, kind of, it was everything that can go wrong will go wrong, just acts of God, from lightning storms to bears, COVID. We had to shut down for a week in the middle. And Danny just never lost his cool. He was a tremendous, yeah, sidekick through it all.
and there's a reason why I wanted to actually bring praise to him. It's because, well, one, there are a handful of nighttime scenes. And, usually, why bring up a nighttime scene, right? But in recent memory, and there's these recent tropes where you see movies with nighttime scenes and you're just like, what am I looking at here? I have no idea what I'm looking at. But everything was not only lit properly, I could see everything and I could also hear everything. So also props to your sound team
Yep.
for because there's a lot of outside shots. And for anyone that's been to any form of camp, there's always sounds of critters, animals always in the background. So a lot of the sound was very isolated to the characters. So what I'm wondering is how did you shoot these nighttime sequences?
I mean, that's Danny. So uh, he said, it's funny. It's like this little summer camp movie, and it seems simple, but actually, there's everything in there. Like we have, every kind of challenge for a DP was in this film, and there was a lot of, as you said, a lot of nighttime shooting that he just really took care with, and uh, he knew it was going to be hard, but he made it look easy. So I appreciate that comment. Yeah.
All right, sweet. I know you're very busy, but I got one more question for you, which is, this film juggles a lot of themes and has a lot of things that it wants to say. But usually, what a film's intent, or what a director's intent is, can be different than what the audiences will eventually take away from it. So, what I'm wondering is, what are you hoping personally that audiences will take away from this movie?
I hope it's a fun summer movie and they just have a really good time and laugh and feel that spirit of youth, which we can feel at every age, which is I think an energy of potential and fluidity. It's like something I heard time and again from people who went to summer camp is that it was for them a place where they could become someone different than they were at home. And yeah, I guess that's something that's there in the film and is something that I think we all kind of want to take with us in life. We never lose that urge, I guess, to be able to reinvent ourselves.
No, and it's always lovely to be able to go back a little bit and maybe not like relive, but reminisce about our
Yeah.
time as we're young. And I think this movie does a phenomenal job of doing that. And for those of you watching, I'd like to state that The Floaters will be premiering in select theaters on July 10th of this year, 2026. Links will be in the description below, as well as links to the IMDb page and more information about the movie. And on that note, as much as I would love to discuss more about this film, I know you're a very busy lady and you have many more of these interviews to do. So I would like to say, Miss Isreal, thank you for stopping by and talking about your really wonderful movie with me on Showverse. I connected with it in ways that I wasn't really ready for, and I had an absolute blast getting a chance to watch it. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, thanks so much for having me and thanks for the conversation. It was a lot of fun.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So until next time, I'm Noah Fister with Showverse, signing off.